All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to more Black Desert. My name is John, and this is a question I've been getting quite often, and it's more for new players getting into life skills. What is the difference between cooking and alchemy on the terms of which one is easier, which one's more profitable, which one should you do as a beginner? So if you are a main life skiller, chances are a lot of these things are going to be pretty obvious to you, but as a new player, you're probably wondering, which one should you do? And we're going to talk about how to get the materials, or certain materials anyway. Which ones are for CP, how to get the cooking and alchemy tools, which one's better for profit, Imperial Delivery, and what each one is used for, and which one is easier to get the gear for in general. So, as a new player, I've always told people to start with gathering, because it doesn't matter what you gather. At some point, you get an item or a quest called Liana's Tool Bag, and it allows you to get 6 different tools and allows you to gather different materials, obviously. And I'll leave a link in the description to all the different gathering spots that I do, and those are my favorite for various things, and an intro to life skilling and various life skills, so you can get more of a detailed informational video, and I'll leave that in the description as well. So, with that said, what is the difference between the two? I think that cooking as a whole is a lot easier to do because there's a lot more things you can cook. And unfortunately, it's hard to talk about profits as a very specific thing because, one, if I told you, things would change in like a day or two, and then so that information would be irrelevant. However, what I can help you with is telling you general tips that will help you guys all improve and not like completely tank the market. So these are just general tips for beginners, and I assume that you are not a very competitive person when it comes to min-maxing the market and looking at all the materials. So just very basic things you guys can all do. So assuming that you have gathering set up, you have the Liana's tool bag, you know some various different spots. I'll leave a link in the description to my video where I talk about my favorite spots and why. But the basic one that I would recommend people getting early on is getting a house in Glish. I think it is Glish 3. And the reason why we do Glish is because it's very close to the main central hubs for beginner players. And Glish 3 allows you to unlock the tool workshop and allows you to make the advanced alchemy tool and the advanced cooking utensil. These are probably going to be your primary tools until there's like events that give you the supreme ones. But just as a general basic, you're probably going to be using these. Now, the answer is it is a lot easier to level up cooking than it is to do alchemy, simply because there is mass cooking, as in like it could proc a 20 and it just would overall be faster in terms of like if you were to set an auto cook for an hour, you could probably run through more materials cooking than it is for alchemy. Why they don't just make them both the same, I think it's because like alchemy is more for higher end stuff as well, so they don't want people making mistakes. That's just my theory on it. I have no idea, but it would be nice because alchemy takes so much time to get to Guru, and I have a video on that as well if you want to watch that. So it's very easy to do. It just takes a lot of time. So other things that people have asked me is which one is easier to do for CP, which is contribution points. And overall, I would say contribution points are something you should probably invest into and get a lot of as fast as possible, I guess. And the reasoning why is having more contribution points allows you to just overall make more passive money by putting workers on nodes, doing more things, or you could just simply turn in more stuff for Imperial Delivery, which we will talk about in a bit. So overall, cooking is just faster. Basically, when you cook, you get 2 materials, which I'll show you right now. One is the Witch's Delicacy, which is for cooking, and these Mysterious Catalysts for alchemy. You get a lot more Witch's Delicacies from cooking, but if you really want to power level, I think farming is also a good thing as well, but it's irrelevant. So as a beginner, I would recommend investing in like a few different storages for different materials. For example, I do Heidel for a lot of cooking and alchemy, whereas I do Adraxia where I store my elixirs, which is alchemy. We'll talk about that later. And you just want to invest in a lot of storage, and you don't even have to pay to do that. Like, you don't pay real money. What you do is invest in a house, and then you invest into storage, and then it just adds more. So this is how we talked about more CP allows you to do more things, invest in more houses, so you don't have to spend any money, and you just get the same things, but it just takes a little bit longer. So as a basic, you're probably also wondering, what is Imperial Delivery? So in every town, I will swap to a character right now so I could show you. It's basically where you package various things, whether it's from cooking or alchemy, and then you turn it into an NPC, which basically, in a nutshell, it deletes items out of the game but gives you money for or silver, and then it just makes sure the economy is still flowing fine, which I think overall is a good thing. So let me show you how this works and how you can do it as well. So let's say your cooking is Guru. Mine is Artisan on this character, but it's irrelevant. There's an NPC in a lot of different towns. This is just the one I go to because it's like right near the storage. And the Imperial Crafting Delivery person, the way it works is you take your total contribution points divided by 2, and that's how many boxes you can turn in daily. And so if we look at this, you see the daily delivery, which I have to do. You could turn in 216 of any of these boxes, right? And when you cook, and you can use these materials, and then generally it's profit. Even if you buy the materials off the market, you can just cook them or put them into a box and then turn them in, and your cooking level and mastery is affected. So the higher mastery, the more profit you make, which is always a good thing. So that's why I told you guys cooking is generally better for CP. And which one you should do is, I think, what I did. I'm not sure if this is the best thing, but overall, you see how I have like 700,000 grilled bird meat? It's just because I've had the node, and I think these are valuable nodes just overall. And so you're going to want to cook these, and these are obviously useful as well, but will you use all of them? Probably not in your entire career. But if you just want to cook things for witches' delicacies to turn into CP, what I did was grilled bird meat. But realistically, you can cook anything and it's fine. And what you're going to want to do after that is ultimately just turn it in. And the difference, if you look at food versus medicine, which is cooking versus alchemy, these are technically the same, but to make various elixirs costs a lot more, so it's less profit. So cooking will always be more profit than alchemy. However, that doesn't mean it's not important to do alchemy in general, because it depends where you are in the game. Like, let's say all you've done for the past 3 years is grinding, but now you want to get into life skilling. You probably have a lot of materials just saved up, and you probably have elixirs. So for cooking, you do cron meals, and I think that's generally something that a lot of people do as profit. The price goes up and down pretty regularly, so just keep that in mind. Find something that you think is profitable for you and do that. So cron meals are something that everyone that grinds uses, even life skillers use the seafood ones. So these are always bought and sold every day, but it is a very competitive market. Just keep that in mind. And what you use all of these things for is what you should do in the game. So if you actually are getting to the point where you're mid to end game, you might want to start looking into elixirs. And I do have a video you can find on the channel for all the elixirs I use for PvP, PvE, but something we're not going to talk about now. Just one of those things, and how to power level alchemy. But just keep in mind that alchemy is more for end game stuff. Well, not really end game, but it's more just like the reason why you're doing it is to craft stuff you don't really sell, whereas cooking is you can just mass produce a lot of things. And over time, you start making like party elixirs for grinding higher end spots. So ultimately, all your life skills, they connect in one way or another. So alchemy, you make elixirs and do group grinding or group whatever. And then cooking, you just is more for silver. So let's talk about gear now and which ones I think is easy to do. So ultimately, when you have the Liana's tool bag, well, it's on another character, you're ultimately going to want to get as much mastery as possible. And when you gathering should be the first one you hit 2,000 mastery on, just because the tools give an extra few hundred that no other life skill has. And I would say that cooking is one of those things where if you were to do it, you would probably have two different things. So you do have your Monos clothes, but sometimes you also have the alchemy and the cooking one as well. And the difference between these is the silver embroidered gives more XP, and some of them give cooking time, but this one just gives more mastery. So this is just a little bit more of endgame tips for all of you, is that cooking clothes gives more mastery, but the silver embroidered cuts your cooking time down, which is also very important, especially because if you're trying to mass produce a lot of things, you want to get them all done as fast as possible. And so when you do Imperial Delivery, you get more profit by mastery, so you swap them depending on what you do. When it comes to alchemy XP versus cooking speed time, which is a little bit different. If you get a +4, it's basically the same. But anyway, tips I can give you guys is you want time down when cooking, because it'll allow you to cook more, alchemy, process, whatever, faster. And then when you turn it in, mastery allows you to go for more profits, if that made sense. So generally, you want to get to the best life skill accessories possible, which is like Monos, and then you get your tool bag and all that stuff. I would say here's a good tip for all of you guys. You see these things that they give you, like the secret book of Florins. I know a lot of people just use them randomly because they're like, oh, a life skill, mastery plus 100. When you actually factor in how much 100 mastery is, assuming you have more or less soft cap gear, which is like, I don't know, I'll try or something, or Tet, Monos, 100 mastery is billions of silver in terms of putting you up into a new bracket. So I would not recommend using these just randomly. I would find an activity you really enjoy doing, do that, and then put the mastery to use in the hour you have. So it's definitely one of those things where these secret books are more valuable than people may think. You just have to find something you're doing first. And so ultimately at the end of the day, it's not actually as difficult as as it seems, but as a beginner, I would just invest in silver embroidered, which is a lot cheaper than Tet or try Monos. And then once you want to start making profit and you think you're at a good point, start investing into the clothes and then all the life skills, whichever one comes cheaper. So yeah, that's one thing I would recommend. And so we talked about how to get the materials by CP, having more nodes and picking out the things you need, how to get the tools, profit by Imperial, and generally cooking is more profitable than alchemy, and uses for each of them, like elixirs versus food buffs, and generally cooking various things is going to be a lot more profitable, and how to go about gearing up. So that was just a general basic of alchemy versus cooking. I'll leave a lot of links in the description to various videos that go into more detail. I know this is a lot of knowledge, but if anyone is actually thinking about taking life skilling a little bit more seriously, or you're just burnt out of grinding, I think these are something that is interesting to watch, and you can actually do all of it and then make a lot of profit. But it's just kind of those things once you learn it, you're good to go, and then start slowly building up into it every day, and I think you'll be fine. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, drop a quick like, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to see you guys come back, and yeah, we got some more cool stuff coming up in the next few days, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.